What if I told you that the single most profitable component inside the phone in your pocket costs less than a large pizza? 5 brands spent the last 12 months telling you that storage got expensive, and they were telling the truth, just not the whole truth. So, let's dive into the 5 phone brands robbing you blind on storage. Number 5. OnePlus. The flagship killer that started charging flagship prices for the same chip. The OnePlus 15 launched globally at $899 for 12 gigabytes of memory and 256 gigabytes of storage. Step up to 16 gigabytes and 512 gigabytes, and you're at $999. On paper, that's fine. That's one of the better ladders in this entire video, and I want to be fair about that. But then, you look at what the exact same phone costs in China. 3,999 yuan for that base configuration. That's about $561. Same processor, same flash memory, same factory. And the 1 terabyte model, the one that tops out around $758 in its home market, was never offered as a standard option in the United States at all. Think about that for a second. You're not being charged extra for storage. You're being charged extra for your zip code. OnePlus built its entire identity on being the company that refused to do this. Never settle. That was the whole promise. Kill the markup, kill the carrier bloat, hand you flagship silicon at half the flagship price. For years, they actually delivered on it, and an entire generation of buyers trusted them for exactly that reason. And now the numbers have caught up. Teardown and pricing analysis across the industry puts the flash cost gap between a 256 gigabyte module and a 512 gigabyte module in the low tens of dollars, even at today's inflated contract prices. OnePlus charges you $100 for that step, which is honestly closer to reasonable than anyone else on this list. The robbery isn't in the ladder. The robbery is in the floor. The base price of the same hardware moves by more than $300 depending on which side of an ocean you buy it on. And here's the part that stings. The OnePlus 15 has no microSD card slot. Whatever number you picked at checkout is your permanent ceiling for the life of that phone. There's no rescue plan, no card you can slide in 3 years from now when your photo library outgrows you. Here's the move that still works today. If you're buying OnePlus, buy the 512 gigabyte model on day 1. Not because 512 is what you need right now, but because the $100 step is the cheapest $100 in this entire video, and you will never get another chance at it. Buy it during a launch promotion, and the step often costs you nothing at all. OnePlus got pulled into the same gravity that swallowed everyone else. Western pricing, Western margins, Western storage ladders. The company that promised to never settle settled quietly in a spreadsheet and didn't send anybody a memo. The phone you'd have to fly overseas to buy at a fair price is the same phone sitting on the shelf at your local carrier store, 20 minutes from where you're sitting right now. Number 4. Motorola, the brand that discovered you'll pay foldable money for flip phone storage. Motorola's 2026 Razr lineup runs like this. The standard Razr, $799.99, 256 gigabytes. The Razr Plus, $1,099.99, still 256 gigabytes. The Razr Ultra, $1,499.99, 512 gigabytes. Read that middle line again. $1,100, and you get the same storage as the $799 model. You paid $300 additional for a bigger cover screen and a better camera, and Motorola quietly kept the flash memory exactly where it was. Motorola was one of the last major American brands to defend expandable storage. Moto G phones shipped with microSD slots for years after the flagships abandoned them. Motorola's own marketing used to lean on it. Buy cheap, expand later, own your own data. That was a real position, and buyers loved it. Then the teardown economics caught up. Once the industry proved that people would pay $100 for $11 of NAND, the card slot stopped being a feature and started being a liability. Every microSD card sold is an upgrade. Motorola didn't get paid for. The slot didn't disappear because it was hard to engineer. It disappeared because it worked too well. And the timing here is the part nobody talks about. Retail memory cards are getting hammered by the same shortage. 128GB SD cards that sold for $25 to $30 in early 2025 have been drifting toward $50 and $60 because memory card makers are the lowest priority in the entire NAND supply chain. Suppliers are shipping to AI data centers first, phone makers second, and consumer memory cards dead last. So, even the escape hatch got more expensive. Here's the move that still works today. If you want a razor, the standard $799 model and the $1,100 plus model hold identical storage. Buy the cheaper one, put the $300 you saved into a 200GB cloud plan at $3 a month, and you've funded that subscription for 8 straight years with change left over. Motorola got overshadowed by the flip form factor and started pricing like a luxury brand. But a hinge doesn't change what flash memory costs. The company that once told you to expand your own storage now sells you a $1,499 phone with a sealed ceiling and a straight face. And it's probably sitting in the display case of the carrier store you drive past on your way to work. Number 3. Google, the company that punishes you twice for buying the cheap one. The Pixel 10 Pro starts at $999 with 128GB of storage. 256GB takes you to $1,099. 512 takes you to $1,219. 1 terabyte lands at $1,449, and there is no card slot anywhere in the lineup. Now here's the detail almost nobody caught. On the Pixel 10 generation, the 128GB model doesn't just give you less storage, it gives you slower storage. The base configuration ships with older UFS 3.1 flash. Step up to 256GB and you get UFS 4.0. Step up again to 512 or 1 terabyte and you get zoned UFS 4.0, which holds its performance better over years of use. Think about that. You spent $999 on a phone marketed as a Pro, and the company built a slower device for the people who couldn't afford the upgrade. That's not a storage tier. That's a penalty box. Google spent a decade positioning itself as the honest one. Unlimited original quality photos backup was the founding promise of the Pixel line. Shoot everything, store nothing locally, never think about it again. Millions of people bought into that ecosystem specifically because Google told them storage was a solved problem. And then the business model caught up. Unlimited backup ended. Google Drive now gives you 15 gigabytes free, and 100 gigabytes runs $1.99 a month. 200 gigabytes runs $2.99, and 2 terabytes runs $9.99. Ship a phone with 128 gigabytes of slow flash. Ship a camera that produces enormous files, and the monthly subscription isn't an accident. It's the destination. The phone is the funnel. Here's the move that still works today. Never buy the 128 gigabyte Pixel. That single $100 step from 128 to 256 buys you double the space and a genuinely faster storage controller. And it's the only step on Google's ladder where you're getting real engineering rather than pure margin. Everything above it is optional. That one is not. Google got to write the rules on what a phone camera should be, then quietly rebuilt the storage underneath it so that using that camera the way they taught you costs $3 a month forever. And the notification telling you your Google account is almost full is probably waiting on the phone screen 5 feet from where you're sitting right now. Number 2. Samsung, the brand that removed the cure and then sold you the treatment. The Galaxy S26 Ultra runs $1,300 for 256 gigabytes, $1,500 for 512 gigabytes, and $1,800 for 1 terabyte. $500 top to bottom. $500 for 768 additional gigabytes of flash memory that costs Samsung a fraction of that number. And remember, Samsung isn't buying that flash from anybody. Samsung makes it. They are one of 3 companies controlling over 90% of the world's NAND supply. Let that sit for a second. The company charging you $500 for the storage upgrade is the same company manufacturing the chip. And this is the brand that spent a decade making expandable storage its single loudest talking point against Apple. Every Galaxy launch, every comparison ad, every spec sheet. MicroSD support was the argument. Buy a Galaxy, buy a $40 card, own your own storage forever. Samsung sold the card. Samsung sold the phone. Samsung told you the other guy was ripping you off. Then the S21 arrived, and the slot was gone. And the cost analysis has caught up on exactly why. Industry pricing data puts the NAND delta between a 128 and a 256 gigabyte module at $11 to $16. When a brand charges you $100 to $200 for that step, roughly 88 to 92% of what you handed over is margin, not component. A microSD slot doesn't just compete with that margin, it destroys it. So the slot died, and 5 years later, the ladder it used to protect you from is a $500 climb. And here's where the shortage alibi really shows itself. Samsung is one of the manufacturers actively cutting NAND wafer output to redirect capacity toward high bandwidth memory for AI accelerators, where margins run north of 60%. Wafer production is projected to fall from 4.9 million in 2025 to 4.7 million in 2026. Samsung is helping create the shortage upstream, then pricing your phone as though the shortage happened to them. Here's the move that still works today. Buy the base 256 gigabyte Galaxy and pair it with a USB-C flash drive. Modern Galaxy phones read external drives natively. Plug it in, drag your video library across, done. A high-capacity drive costs a fraction of the $500 internal jump, and it moves to your next phone with you. It's the microSD slot Samsung took away, just hanging off the bottom of the phone instead of hiding inside it. Samsung got overshadowed by its own success here. The company that built its reputation on giving you control over your storage now runs one of the steepest ladders in the industry, and it manufactures every rung. That old microSD card is probably still in a drawer in your house right now, holding photos from a phone that could actually read it. Number 1. Apple. The $800 climb built on a $22 part. The iPhone 17 Pro Max starts at $1,199 with 256 gigabytes. 1 terabyte runs $1,699. 2 terabytes runs $2,000. That's $800 to walk from the bottom of the ladder to the top. Now here are the receipts. A full component teardown of the iPhone 16 Pro Max put the entire bill of materials at roughly $485 for the 256 gigabyte model. Within that, flash storage came in at $22. Memory came in at $17. Against an $1,199 retail price, that device carried a gross margin near 60%. Think about that. $22 of flash, $800 of ladder. Apple has run this playbook longer than anyone. 16 gigabytes to 32, 64 to 128, and the pattern is precise. Base storage gets doubled during periods when NAND is cheap and oversupplied, which lets Apple absorb about $11 of extra component cost while raising base prices by 50 to 100, and then shift the entire upsell ladder upward on top of it. Roughly 44% of buyers still climb past the new base. The doubling was never generosity, it was a ladder relocation. And the shortage alibi has caught up with Apple hardest of all, because the receipts contradict the story. Memory and flash made up around 9% of the bill of materials on a 256 gigabyte iPhone 17 Pro. On the coming generation, those same components are projected to hit roughly 27%, with NAND on the 1 terabyte model estimated to clear $250 and become the single most expensive component in the entire phone. That is a real cost increase. But memory industry executives have said publicly that when chip prices move up modestly, Apple multiplies that into hundreds of dollars at retail to protect its own margin. The shortage is real. The response is opportunism. And then there's the second floor of the trap. Apple gives you 5 gigabytes of free iCloud. 5. A single modern iPhone backup can eat that before you've taken a photo. 50 gigabytes is 99 cents a month. 200 is $2.99. 2 terabytes is $9.99. The undersized base storage and the undersized free tier are the same decision made twice. Here's the move that still works today. Buy the base storage tier and put the difference into a 200 gigabyte iCloud plan. Turn on Optimize iPhone storage, so full resolution photos live in the cloud and compressed versions live on device. That single toggle does more for a 256 gigabyte iPhone than $500 of internal flash, and $36 a year is a rounding error against an $800 ladder. Apple got to define what a premium phone costs, and it defined the most profitable part of that phone as the part that costs the least to make. And the storage full notification is probably going to appear on the device in your hand before you finish this video. Every one of these 5 brands raised storage prices in 2026 and pointed at a shortage. And the shortage is real, but the ladder was already there, already running at 88 to 92% margin, years before the first AI data center placed its first order. Remember, sometimes the most expensive thing in your phone isn't the chip or the camera or the glass. Sometimes it's the checkbox you ticked at checkout, quietly waiting for you to notice what it actually cost.